Hello, my name is Hans Meeder with the National Center for College and Career Transitions. Thank you for joining us today. This is a continuation of our series on Mountain Home High School in Mountain Home, Arkansas, their Career Academy initiative they have here. And today we're going to be hearing from the teacher perspective and from the student perspective. Well, good morning. We're here at Mountain Home High School in Mountain Home, Arkansas. And we're learning about the Career Academy program that they have here at the high school. They have 3 Career Academies. So we've asked some teachers that are in the academies to tell us a little bit so we can learn about, from a teacher perspective, what the academy experience is like. So were any of you here when the academy process started? And if so, could you just tell us a little bit about how the decisions were made about what academies and how to proceed?
I was here, and the decision was made by our administration just doing their homework and everybody buying in. There was a lot of teacher input, which I think made it easier for our faculty to welcome it.
I was actually the school nurse at the time, but because of our process that we went through, I was actually one of the stakeholders that got to be involved in school visits, and I got to have some feedback, and I was part of the week-long professional development, how to integrate and collaborate with the teachers. So I was at the grassroots of that as a totally different profession at the time.
So when the conversation started about career academies, what were some of the needs that you were trying to deal with, and what were some of the opportunities with the academies?
Well, I just feel like that the opportunities were to have the chance to reach every student and to help the students be involved more. Not only were we learning or allowing the students to be educated through their learning styles, but we were going to be able to teach through also our teaching styles and our learning styles, and it created a situation where every student, in my opinion, felt like that they had someone to go to. And again, I've been here 18 years. I was just out of college, so it was a learning process for me as well. But over the course of 18 years, to see the success that it's had here at our high school is amazing.
I think when we first started, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we were determining, are we going to have one academy? And we were trying, how do we make this work in the structure that we have? And then as the discussion continued and progressed, it became let's go wall to wall or not at all, I think was the motto that we used. And so then you had the challenges of, we were departmentalized down there where the band hall is. That was the math department. Then you had the social studies department and the English department. So we had the logistics of moving by the 3 academies, physically moving rooms, and then our administration did a great job of placing teachers based on their personality, based on their teaching styles and their learning styles to figure out who's going to be in the CAB Academy, who's ACME, who's HHS. And so those were some of the things when we first started that we had to deal with.
Good. Well, tell me, let's talk about how teaching with the academy structure affects different aspects. So first let's talk about, and if all of you could comment on this, how teaching in the Career Academy structure affects your experience day to day in the classroom.
I think it opens it up. I think it instead of you just being focused on what you're doing and that's all that matters, I think you have a big picture that you understand that the kids that I'm teaching are the same ones that Miss Wham has, same ones that Coach Leonard has, and so I think it's a great way to help our students not only academically but socially and behaviorally as well. And so I think it just kind of opens up your horizons, that it's not just about you; it is big picture. And it's about all the different ways that we can support our kids and teach our kids.
From my standpoint, I look at it that it's probably made me think every day when I walk in the classroom that today I may have ACME students, I may have HHS students, I may have CAB students. And so I'm trying to hit the 3 different types of learners, whether they're visual and I show them how to do the problem, where they're kinesthetic, where they go back to the board and they work the problems themselves. And then, of course, there's always the audio. so that, the kids are hearing me talk about each step while we're doing it. So I think for me, with the academies and us understanding what type of students we have on campus, it's making us enhance our teaching so that we're trying to reach all learners, not just the type of learners. I'm a very visual person. So, I'm also trying to be, make sure that they get their step-by-step for that HHS student, or, the student that needs to go work it themselves to figure it out themselves, like the ACME student. So I think that way the Academies has enhanced what we do day to day.
Okay, good. And just to clarify on that, that's fine. I learned yesterday that even though the students are identified with Academies, it doesn't mean that they are only with Academy students in all their classes. So as teachers, it does sound like you're always being challenged to think about different learning styles and different areas of interest.
That's what I was going to say. What Kathy said was how much it enhanced me as a teacher. I was right out of college when we started, and I was so worried about my own little world and doing my job. And my first reaction, maybe just that I kept to myself, was, now I'm going to have to incorporate these other things. But what it did for me was it allowed me to develop relationships with other teachers that helped me grow as an educator. In PE class, we might not just be doing a fitness test. We may actually have a writing project with it where I can go talk to the English teacher and get their ideas about, how do you want this done? It also allowed me to develop not only relationships with other teachers, but other students. And I might be in the gym all day and never was in this part of the building, but especially the last 5 years, and as I have learned more, and then the last few months of being an academy leader, I've developed relationships with ACME students that I would have never crossed paths with. So that's been special to me.
I think in my classes, because I teach the medical classes, I could see a lot of overlap with other departments. Some things I talk about in the medical classes they have covered in history, like the plague, and we've talked about most recently the Ebola outbreak and how it has covered English, and we talk about it in math exponentially, and so things like that. We integrate with each other more, and we cover different topics, and the kids can talk about one subject in 3 different places.
Excellent. So tell us about how does it impact your interaction with members of the community, the business partners that you have?
We have a business advisory board that we meet with quarterly, and they help give us information, ideas, suggestions of how we can connect with the community. What do they see as business members that we need to give the kids for real world applications? What do the business people need the kids to know when they graduate from high school? And then the teachers, because we're teachers, we don't necessarily get out in the community, then we can tailor our teaching to those soft skills perhaps that the kids may not get at home.
Well, this year I'm back in with an academic advisory group of students, so I have them once or twice a week. And then once a month, we have a mentor come in who is a community member that comes in and spends time with our students and builds a relationship. So I think that, that has helped not only the teacher have to deal with someone out in the community, but also the students. I have a younger man that is into, he works for a company here that does websites. And I have a couple of students in class, and one day he was coming in to mentor, and he grabbed 2 of my boys and ran those guys down to meet another gentleman that's on our Chamber of Commerce board. And so, just watching how the mentors start picking up from our students, to have them work into the community and to meet people here in our community that they can use as references, or maybe get an internship with those people. We as teachers, we go on externships, so we go out and we see different companies and how they work. And so, we've got a lot of neat things going on to even open up our eyes that, we don't just come in the building. We're a public figure. We get to go out. We meet these business people. You might see them at the grocery store, and you can even say hello to them. Otherwise, you might not even know them. But they're coming into our school and getting involved with our kids. So that's important.
One thing with CAB is we actually have a student-led business. It's called CAB Connect. It used to be CAB Wrap, Wells Fargo Rewarding Academic Progress. And they've done a lot of research with how the 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, that's kind of the age, kind of the turning point with academically and socially and behaviorally how students are going to be. So high school students started going over there and doing different projects. They did a healthy eating project. And now that's evolved to it's called CAB Connect, and it's connecting students to learning. And so that is completely run by our students, and Wells Fargo sends a couple of our business advisors over here and actually work with the students, and the students get a budget, and they have departments, and there's a CEO and the different things. It's a completely 100% student-led business, and so through the business partnerships that we have through mentors, we've been able to do this. I know HHS has a great working relationship with Baxter Regional Medical Center, and so it's just great to have those outside resources, and it's just kind of led to things like you witnessed yesterday in the Business Advisory Board with the career fair and some of the other things that we're going to do. It's not just the school, it's not just the businesses, it's the whole community and making those connections.
Excellent. You already touched on this a little bit, but tell me a little bit more about how teachers collaborate across classes. And then what are some of the benefits, but also what are some of the challenges in doing that teacher collaboration?
We meet once a week on Wednesdays. We're able, through our charter, to have what we call a late start. So yesterday, HHS met and CAB met, and so we have a common planning time for about 50 minutes on Wednesdays. During that time, the other academy is doing remediation with students, and then we rotate. So every 2 weeks you meet, and then on the 3rd week you do remediation. So that's a great time just to get together and to work on SLEs or to work on integrated projects that we have. We are able during the in-service throughout the year and at the beginning of school have some time where we can sit down and plan projects. Usually when school's out, we'll have a few days of in-service where we can plan those things. So we do have that common planning time, but of course one of the challenges then is you dive in deep to these things, and then you think that's enough time, but then in reality sometimes it's not. And so a lot of times you kind of meet yourself coming and going, and just I think the time factor of all trying to meet our standards and do the things that we have to do for our subject area, but then also trying to to collaborate and get stuff done.
Well, I know with, math and science pretty well goes hand in hand, but it is also fun when you bring the science classes into the math classes. And Alecia was talking about, the outbreak. I know every year, me and another teacher, we always do an outbreak where we have the kids come in and we do test tubes, and they, they have a disease and who started it, and we try to take it back to that, and then how exponentially it, grew and all that kind of fun stuff. So I just think getting to get in the classroom with another teacher is fun. It's also fun being down a hallway with like the theater and the band students and watching those kids. You may be working in your classroom, then all of a sudden you open your door and there's music going on, and all the kids just sit up in the room. So, I think before Academies, I probably would have never been in a hallway where there was music and theater going on and English going on or computers. I would have just been in a hallway with a bunch of math teachers, and those would have been the only people that I would have talked to. So it's really nice, as Dell had said earlier, to get to know everybody on staff, and you get close to the people in your academy. So you just kind of become little families. So that's a lot of fun, too.
I think the hardest part, like Tom said, is the time factor, and you get started with something and you brainstorm in the summer, and we try to continue it through the year, but sometimes we run out of time, and I think every teacher across the nation will echo that. If we just had more time to get in and get those things done, we could collaborate so much better. But we do a great job in our hour. We get a lot accomplished.
So it sounds like you have to do the heavy lifting and deep planning in the summertime, and then you really implement it and fine-tune it as you go during the school year.
Yeah, definitely.
I want to add to that and say that I felt like that even before we started Academies, it was the same thing. You always, as a teacher and an educator, you always feel rushed. You always feel like you're running out of time. But the thing that's great about what we're doing now is we're doing it together, and we reach our goals. So that's what feels great about it now.
Mm-hmm. And I heard yesterday that as teachers, and you kind of hinted at this, Kathy, that traditionally you would just be with the teachers that teach your subject area. Now you're really interacting with a broader array of teachers. So that seems to have some enjoyment to it, huh? Or more sense of community. Could you talk about that sense of community and what is that part of what happens through the academy process?
Well, you just feel like that it's a lot more enjoyable when you accomplish something as a team opposed to just getting something done yourself. And when you can bring the community in to share that experience, it makes it nice.
And I know that, in our academy, that what we have done is we've separated into maybe 5 of our largest projects that we have going on, whether you're with Cab Connect or with the Our Voice crew, or you're with the Bomber Bulletin. And so, and we have kickoff that we have certain teachers take care of, and then Academy Celebration Day. And all of those come with pretty good responsibilities to get the show on the road, as we like to say in Cab. And so it is really nice to share the burden with other teachers that you can talk to them about, because you may not have all the ideas. And so when you get to collaborate with other people that are creative or they have great ideas, whatever, it helps, and it lessens the stress, because anymore we are feeling more stress with the different testing and that kind of stuff that goes on in a regular school setting. So when we get to do the fun stuff, it also eases that stress off the kids as well, because they look forward to what our activities are coming up. So
I've heard some teachers say, well, we can't really do these pathway programs because we have to cover all the state standards. And if we do these other things, we won't have time. What's been your experience in terms of covering the state curriculum and prepping the students for the test? Is this just a nice, fun distraction, or does it somehow integrate with that?
Well, I think it integrates with it, but I also think that we're better time managers because we have put so much on our plate that we're not standing around wasting time. When we hit the classroom, I think we're focused. We know what we've got to get done that day, whether we've lost 5 minutes or 10 minutes because we've got something else going on. So I think that the teachers are more focused. I don't think there's, sit around and gripe about what we've got to get done. We just get in there and get it done. So I think that's
And one of the things that we do in our academy meetings is we address weak SLEs. And
Could you tell us what that means?
Student learning expectations on the test, the things that the students may not be scoring well on. We'll address that with, we'll have an English teacher stand in front of that academy, and he'll address a weak SLE and give us an example of how to help the students improve on those scores. So I feel like definitely integrated. We're working together to help those areas.
In some cases, parents hear the idea of careers or academies. They might think, well, I want my child to go to college. I don't want them going right into a career. Have you had any of those kind of conversations with parents where you've talked about college or career and what the whole intent of the academies are? And could you tell us about those conversations?
We have an academic advisory program. It's called AAP. It's like homeroom of old school time. The kids meet with them on Tuesdays, and they meet with them on Wednesdays as well. And during our academic advisory time, we put a lot of focus in the different grades, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, in what their planning is post-secondary. And we build that through the grades. 10th grade might be focusing on community service, and 11th grade may be volunteerism, and then seniors, you are looking at your post-secondary goals. And not necessarily just college. We talk about business plans. What are you going to do for a career? You're going out into the workforce, interviewing skills, interviewing etiquette. We also address the military. And if you want to go get a military degree, what are those things you have to have? Because the military, they just, he came and spoke to us, a recruiter, they just don't want dropouts anymore. They want thinkers, critical thinkers. And so we tell the kids that as well. It's not just for dropouts. You have to really have a goal and a focus, and they want to educate them as well. So it's not just, we really talk about the whole student post-secondary.
I did have a parent who graduated from Mountain Home in '86 and then left the country for the military, and actually came back a few years ago and enrolled his child into Mountain Home. And when we sat down and talked for the first time, he said, when I graduated, we didn't have all this Academy stuff. And by the time we ended up talking, he was very grateful and thankful, because he could see that with the Pathway program that, he didn't want his son to go to college and pick the wrong degree or the wrong course of study and then have to spend all that money. And he sees that, if my child can find out what they want to do now, that's going to save us a lot of time and a lot of money. So.
I think that's an interesting question, because I think when we first started, I think that was kind of the perception. Okay, we're trying to pigeonhole kids where you need to choose a career path, and this is the path you choose, and this is the course that you're on the rest of your life. And I think just through educating parents, through having sessions during open house where they come, I think it's interesting. We even have a school board member whose daughter, her learning style was kind of CAB, but she was more into the HHS classes. And so I think that's kind of evolved. Even my own daughter now, who's in the 9th grade, and the fact that we're able to, we have kids that go to the junior high and kids that go over to middle school and the kids that would go over to Hackler Intermediate. And so I think it's just an education process where people are realizing it's not just trying to do a career. It has to do with learning styles. It has to do with a lot of these other opportunities. I mean, we have businesses here in town where a kid can leave Mountain Home High School and go make great money, working for a tech company building websites and stuff. And so I think it's just been an education process. I just think it's evolved, and with the students and with parents to understand really what it's all about. And it's not just you got to go to college or else, or you have to go into the workforce. I mean, there's options, and you spoke to that yesterday in the business advisory. It needs to be a continuum of respect for the different for the workforce, and some people college is going to work great. Some people it is going out into the field to work. So. Yeah. I just think it's been, and that's helped with the business partners too, because I think they understand now more of what we're doing. So the more you get them involved, the more you get the parents involved, people understand what you're doing and can help preach that message.
So for your the final thing I just want to ask you to comment on, just have everyone comment on this. So for your fellow teachers that might be watching this online, they're considering doing an academy pathway type initiative in their school district, what's a word of advice you would give to them?
That's funny, because I've been asked that question as a band director. I'll go to conventions, and so they're like, we went to Mountain Home, or someone came from Mountain Home in this career academy. They kind of think what I did. How's that going to affect me, and is it going to hurt my program? And my advice would just be to be open-minded to it. And it can really, I think, help your teaching, and it can really help your program. I think if you get on board with it, and there's lots of benefits to working with other people and other kids, and that's, like you said, you normally wouldn't get to cross paths with. And it's been nothing but positive for me.
And as a parent of a sophomore, I get to see my daughter get to be with the type of students she wants to be with because of the academy that she chose and the type of classes that she's taking. But also, I just see that our kids fit better. I think that I don't see sad kids. I don't see kids trying to just hide against a wall during lunch. They all go to the cafeteria. They seem to know what table they want to sit at and what conversations they want to have with fellow students. So I think it's more understand that it's going to be really good for the kids because they're going to have other people like them, and they're going to be able to connect with those kids with their learning styles and interests.
I see, you always have students that are going to be difficult and hard to reach, but I do see less and less of those. I see every student, most every student, feeling like they belong to something and feeling important. Like Tom, I travel a lot of different places with being the girls' basketball coach, and I get a lot of those questions too. And I think the one word that I think of that explains my experience is rewarding. It's been really, really rewarding as far as being a teacher. And I have a daughter who's a freshman in college now that went through the program and couldn't be happier. And I have a daughter who's a sophomore in high school, and I'm thrilled to death that they're getting to go through this high school experience.
I think we had some teachers early on that were here. They'd been here for 30 years, and I think it recharged them. I think it rejuvenated them, and it gave them some excitement because now they got to get out of their, like Kathy was saying, just their math box, or perhaps just their English walls. And now they get to connect with me or Tom or Dell in a different manner, and they got excited about their lessons. And if they're excited, if your instructor's excited, that trickles down to the students. And then the kids are engaged. And I see a lot of engaged kids that have taken control of their education. I mean, they talk the same language as we do, and they know what they want out of their education. And I think the Academy model has brought that.
Excellent. Good. Well, thank you so much for what you do on behalf of the students here, on behalf of your community, and thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
For more information about NC3T and our services, visit our website at nc3t.com, and be sure to view our other videos and archived webinars.